Okay, assignment 4, page 20. We'll just look at these ones. And then I'll give you time to work on the word problems. So it says, calculate the surface area of each of the following. So the first and most important thing is you've got 3 pages of formulas. These ones are for area, regular area. These ones are for surface area. Make sure you're picking the right formula. That's why for a lot of these questions on a test, they'll be worth 3 marks. The first mark is finding the right formula. There's so many of them, you got to be able to find the right one. So calculate the surface area for this, what's this shape called?
Cone.
Yeah, that's a cone. So that's a cone. And so if I go find the surface area of a cone, pi r times the slant height plus pi r squared. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. That's the very first thing. Okay. And they're all given to us. The r is 6. The s is 12.3. Plus pi times 6 squared. So pi times 6 times 12.3 plus pi times 6 squared. And if you punch it in carefully, I got 344.95 square feet. And I'll check the answers. If it was a test, I would do it twice, just to make sure I got the same thing both times. Slide into the back, 344.95. So that's exactly what I got. So I'm happy with that. Where's the focus here? Okay. This one, what kind of shape is this? As a 3D shape, what is it?
Oh no, a sphere?
Sphere, yeah. Looks like a tennis ball. Okay, so the surface area of a sphere. 4 times pi times r squared. So 4 times pi, and the r is 3.2 squared. So then you just have to be careful punching it in. 4 times pi times 3.2 squared equals 128.68 square centimeters. Is that correct in back? Yep. Okay, the next one. I'm not sure what this weird diagram thing is there. We couldn't figure out if it was saying that the top was open or closed. I'm assuming it's closed. Because if you ignore this thing here.
It is closed.
It is closed?
Yeah.
So this is a cylinder, right?
Yeah.
So this time we're looking at the surface area of a cylinder. And we're assuming from this diagram that it has a top and a bottom. They're closed, like a can, right? Like a sealed can. So the surface area of a cylinder is...
Wait, do we have to write cylinder as well?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
As long as you have the right formula. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So it's going to be 2 pi, and instead of r, I'll put 17.
Isn't it R? I mean, isn't it 4R, I, R2?
That's for a sphere. I'm doing this next one here.
Oh, sorry.
The cylinder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a pretty long formula. Lots of opportunities to make errors, so just be careful. 2 times pi times 17 squared plus 2 times pi times 17 times 30. And I got 5,020.27 square feet. that correct in the back?
Yeah.
I'm also checking that the answers are correct. Assignment 4. Way down here.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, like, there it is. Okay. And for D, this is a square on the bottom, and that's a pyramid, so we just call it a square pyramid. And the formula for that, a square base pyramid, is b squared plus 2bh. B is the base, there it is. Why are they telling us S? I think this is labeled improperly. I think they meant H actually.
Unless they want you to use the formula.
Unless they want you to use Pythagorean theorem. Okay. So this one might be an error in the diagram. If it isn't an error, there's a bunch more work to do. I'm assuming this is an H.
D2 plus 2BH?
Yeah, b squared plus 2bh is the one we're doing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. However, S usually means this side. Okay, I'm assuming it's an error. I'm going to see if we get the same answer at the back. If not, I'm going to have to pull out a whole new piece of paper, and there's no way I have enough room there to do it. Okay, let's find out. B squared would be 5 squared plus 2 times 5 times 7.8, which would be 5 squared plus 2 times 5 times 7.8, which is 103. Is that what they have in the back? No?
95.
No, it's 95 inches.
95? Okay. All right. So maybe the diagram wasn't wrong. I'm going to erase all of this. I'll leave the formula. Makes it a bit tougher of a question. Okay. So if this is correctly labeled, S usually means the slant height, which means this is
Dotted line?
S here.
Okay.
But we can't use that in our formula. We have to use H. H is the dotted line. Okay. Fortunately, if we have this side here, we can figure out the H. I'm just going to draw this. I'm just going to pull this. I'm going to shade it here, and I'm going to redraw that part over here. So imagine that this is what we're looking at. We're looking at this triangle, and this is 7.8. This whole side here is 5, and the height starts at halfway. So how long is this going to be? How far is that? That's going to be 2.5, because it sort of cuts the base in half there. Now, the other thing to notice is that this height will form a right triangle. Do you remember doing those right triangle questions?
In the beginning,
What's that? Yeah, I think we revisited it in the beginning. We'll revisit it again when we do trigonometry. Pythagorean theorem, do you remember Pythagorean theorem? No.
90 degrees.
So I'm surprised to see this question here, because this is like a lot more work. So Pythagorean theorem basically says, for those of you, you've probably learned it before, and we'll revisit it later, that If you square each of these shorter sides and add them, you'll get the square of the longer side. So if I want to find out what this side is, h, I'd have to go like this. I have to go 7.8 squared minus 2.5 squared. So 7.8 squared minus 2.5 squared equals 54.59. But that's h squared. Anybody know how to undo a square? What's that? The opposite of squaring is called square rooting. Square rooting, and that is this little symbol there on my calculator. Can you see that? Yeah, that's a square root.
Check mark open thing.
Yeah, so I can just go like this. The square root of 54.59 is 7.4. Okay, so that's my h, and that's the number I'll have to use in this formula. So I'm going to redo this now. Surface area equals 5 squared plus 2 times 5 times 7.4. Plus 2 times 5 times 7.4, which is 99. What'd you say it said in the back? 95. Yeah. So this question is clearly screwed up in the answer key and in the way that it's labeled.
And inches.
That is not even squared.
It's what?
I don't think it's squared.
It's inches.
It just says 99 inches?
Yeah.
Well, that makes no
And
sense at all. Let's go look, see what happened.
It is squared.
It said 95.
95
Yeah.
inches and
Yeah. Well, that's wrong. It's definitely wrong. Wrong. Okay. So I would, and I highly doubt that this was the intention of the question, because that was a lot of work. And that's certainly something that we'd have to spend more time doing to get good at it. So I think the question was just a mistake. So I would just omit this whole question. Yeah.
sounds like the answer would never end.
Well, it's a lot more work than what I would expect at this stage.
Is this the same too?
What's that?
Is that the same as well?
For E?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll try it and we'll see if it works out. But certainly D was, the answers are on the back, and it looks like it's more difficult than it was intended to be. So let's do this one. So this is a triangular
Prism.
prism. Yeah. And the formula for that was b squared plus 2b times h. Nope, I'm writing down the wrong one. That is the wrong formula. Looking at the sheet, there it is, triangular prism. Basically, all those different parts. They're all rectangles, and then 2 triangles on the ends. Okay. So, length times width plus width times height plus 2 lengths times s. Okay, so length times width would be 6 times 3. Plus width times height, which would be 3 times 2. Plus 2 times 6 times 2.5. And let's see what we get. We'll do a bit of math here. That's 18 plus 6 plus, it looks like. And if I add those together, I'll get 54 square meters. What does the answer say? Please tell me it's the same.
72.
It says 72. Wow.
I'm so happy.
It's hard to get good at things when the answers are always wrong. Did anybody else get 54 when they did this? You got 54? All right. 54 is correct then, because I'm not the only one that got it. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, that's all we can do. So it should be 54. So that one I would go to the back and change it. So in the answer key for E,
Yeah, it is 54.
should make that 54.
Who does these books?
Not me. But, you know, every so many years they change the books because of, you know, curricular changes or change in the provincial exams and stuff. And usually takes a few times through them before you catch all the little errors. Okay. F is a rectangular prism, which means you've got two of 55 by 15s, and you've got two of the 55 by 40s, and you've got two of the 40 by 15s. Just making pairs of numbers there. And we'll use a calculator. 2 times 55 times 15 equals 1650. Then 2 times 55 times 40, 4400. Then 2 times 40 times 15, 1200. Okay, let's add those together. Got 7,250 cubic centimeters. Does that put us back on the right track for the answer key?
No.
Miraculously, that one is correct in the back. Okay. So 4 out of these 6 answers in the back were correct for that first assignment there. And number 2. Sketch a square pyramid. Okay. So that's kind of that shape there, so I'm just going to sort of draw the same thing. Cool. I created an optical illusion. You can either look at this square-based pyramid as though this part here is the front, or if you look at it, it looks like that could be the bottom and it's turned that way. Works either way. Neat? So it is 15 feet by 15 feet, so that's 15 by 15. And it has a slant height of 10, so 10 there. What's the surface area of the pyramid? So we had this formula before. B squared plus, oh, we had this problem before. Yeah, so this makes more sense because it's set up as a problem that requires extra work. this question here is this, all this work we did here, that's going to apply to this one. And I would expect that if it was a word problem and meant to be a challenge, but not earlier there. So it's b squared plus 2bh, but you can't figure out the h unless you do the Pythagorean theorem. So if I took this triangle and drew it over here, it was 15 feet that way, and it was 10 feet that way. Okay, but I don't want to know that. I want to know this. I want to know the h. Okay, so if I cut it in half here, this becomes 7.5. This was 10. So I can do the 10 squared minus 7.5 squared to get the h. So h is going to be 10 squared minus 7.5 squared, and then I'm going to have to square root the whole thing. Okay, 10 squared is 100. And square root 6.61.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's the number I'll use over here. So the b's were 15. And this is 6.61. Alright, so let's just carefully punch that in. So 15 squared plus 2 times 15 times 6.61. I got 423.3 cubic feet. I'm just going to double check that calculation. All right, and then we'll go see if there's a miracle and then it's correct in the back. No,
It's 525.
This is a frustrating booklet. All right, erase all this again. So that tells me that they didn't mean slant height. They meant height.
Wording.
What's that?
The wording.
Yeah, it's the wording's the issue. And I said that with a lot of this essential math stuff, the math is okay. It's the wording. So they must have meant this. Which technically is a slant height, because it is on the slant. Okay, so that's a 10 there. So which means this question gets a little bit easier. It didn't have to do all that work. We would just go 15 squared plus 2 times 15 times 10. Yeah, which is 225 plus 300, which is 525 cubic feet. Okay. That was much easier than what I was doing. I should have. Okay. So I think from now on, let's just assume that in the question, the numbers they've given you are the ones that match what's in the formulas. Just look at the formulas and just fill them in and say that they must mean that one. Okay. That's a lot more straightforward. Okay, I'm going to cross my fingers and give you time to work on the rest of these word problems. If you do one and your answer doesn't match up with the back, just bring it up and we'll do it. I mean, we'll do it as a class tomorrow anyway. But hopefully you don't get as frustrated as I am working with this booklet. Hopefully the rest of the answers are actually correct.